Okay, so we're going to come full circle. We've talked about regression analysis, multiple regression. I'm going to show how t-tests and the one-way analysis of variance are basically a special form of regression. The t-test is a form of simple regression, and the one-way analysis of variance is a form of multiple regression. So the first example is I'll complete my t-test. This is from the lab test. Own a car, yes, no, and income. Is income different? Is the income different between those who own a car and those who don't own a car? So analyze, compare means, independent samples, t-test, own car, and it's coded as a 0 and a 1. And income is my test variable. T observed of 1.821, not significant. I can run that as a one-way analysis of variance. And I get an F observed of 3.343. And if I take my T observed of 1.828 and I square it, there's my 3.341, but with rounding. Okay, and then finally, I can run that as a simple regression. Now, for my simple regression, my variable are coded as a 0 and 1, and the own car is going to be referred to as my dummy variable. That's going to be my independent measure. My dependent measure in my regression analysis is the income. So analyze, regression, linear, independent variable is own car, which is coded as a 0 or 1, and income, and go OK. F observed of 3.43 for my analysis of variance. My regression analysis, F observed 3.343. Here, 3.343, and my T observed. Let's just get this right. Control copy. Trust the calculator. There's my 3.343. Okay, so one set of data, 3 analyses. The independent means t-test, significant effect. Well, not significant effect, but the t-test is, now we're on the one-way analysis variance. T squared is equal to my F observed. And finally, my regression analysis, which shows that an F observed of 3.343, which replicates the one-way analysis variance. Okay, so let's go to a slightly trickier example. Whoops, still in SPSS. Class example. So this is the one-way analysis variance that we ran, the class example. So analyze, compare means, one-way ANOVA. My dependent variable is perception of government. My factor is the status, whether they're college, undergrad, or grad. And I go OK. And here's my analysis of variance. We'll recognize the 450, 502, 952. Okay, I can run this as a regression analysis. As I know with my t-test, I had it coded as 0s and 1s. So I have to create dummy variables, but the dummy variables have to be 0s or 1s. Okay. So to do that, I need 2 dummy variables. So let's transform compute. Let's do view value less than 0. So if it's 1, So transform, compute. Oh, let's just, I'm not going to do this. Let's do it to yourself. Okay. So let's create dummy 1. Dummy 2. Okay. So if it's group 1, dummy 1 is a 1. And dummy 2 is a 0. If it's group 2, if it's group 2, dummy 1 is a 0 and dummy 2 is a 1. Now, I'm doing it, I've only got 2 dummy birds. I can actually tell which group it is using 1s and 0s. So dummy 1 has to be coded as a 1 or a 0, and dummy 2 has to be coded as a 1 or a 0. So if it's a 1-0 pairing, it's group 1. If it's a 0-1 pairing, it's group 2. If it's 0 across the board, that's group 3. Okay, now using that, my dummy variables here, so I have a unique code using just 2 dummy variables, which are setup variables to define them in different groups. 1-0 is group 1, 0-1 is group 2, and 0-0 is group 3. Now I'll run my multiple regression using those variables. So for my multiple regression, my 2 dummy variables are my independence, and my dependent is perception. Analyze, regression, linear. My independents are 1 and 2, and my percept is my dependent. And I click OK. Here is the my results from my regression analysis. Here is my source table, and we'll see it's the same as the source table for the one-way analysis variance. So through regression analysis, I can actually replicate the source table from a one-way analysis variance, and what I have to do is I have to use what's referred to as a dummy code, which is tied to the design of the analysis. So using that coding, I can then run a multiple regression analysis to complete, in this case, a one-way analysis variance for 3 groups. So what we've seen then is the t-test is a special form of the f-test. The f-test is a special form of regression. The one-way analysis of variance is a special form of regression.